Hello, everyone. Welcome to the final event of this day and the final event of this year's HTEC Days conference. As was the case with previous days, the third event of the day is a panel discussion. This day, we have listened to presentations from our Enterprise Software Solutions business unit. The title of this panel discussion is Top 3 Challenges and Opportunities in Retail in 2025. The moderator of this panel discussion is Aleksandar Marin, Senior Engineering and Delivery Manager in the ESS business unit, and he will introduce you to our today's panelists and kick off the discussion.
Okay.
Aleksandar.
Thanks, Mustafa, and welcome to our last panel of the day and of these HTEC Days. So for today, we have really interesting topics to cover related to retail. All of these three guys that you see today have really good experience in retail. But the topic today that we've chosen are related to a workforce in retail and omnichannel experience. So just to kick it off, have you ever entered the store and it feels like it's 2015? There's a lot of this technology coming in on the digital side. E-commerce, COVID kind of kicked it off, and the omnichannel experience is there. But behind the scenes, a lot of these operations are still running with the technology way behind. So legacy is causing a lot of strain on the workforce, and a lot of strains on the experience side, and it's kind of trickling down to the customers. We are going to talk today about how we move from this staffing crisis into actual store intelligence, and how AI, data, and automation can help support this blended workforce, reduce the operational stress, pressure, and make the jobs better and customers more happier. So the technology shouldn't be substituting for the humans. It should complement them and make them more effective, and our experience is better. So we've called this panel out of three best topics or three trends for 2025. But since we've kind of created the topic and started actually drilling in, things change as it is in retail and the other technologies. So we don't have time for the whole three topics. We're going to do two bigger topics and then try to do a rapid fire industry trends and ideas at later stages. We'll have a Q&A session open. So if you have any topics related to what we talked about or something that you're interested in retail, please feel free to ask them there. So a brief introduction of your panelists today. I'm Alex. For the last 8 years, I've been working in retail, first as a product manager, then delivery manager. Now I'm, as mentioned before, handling our portfolio of retail accounts. More experienced than me are in Joe, so I'll let Joe introduce himself.
Thanks, Alex. Joe Serrano here. I spent my career working across digital commerce, innovation, and retail transformation on both sides of the table, from both startups and working at big retailers. Within startups, I founded a social shopping marketplace, one of the first to integrate Facebook back in the day, and before social commerce was cool and it was just an idea. I built loyalty platforms. I even had an on-demand dry cleaning business. It was my first business, and went through the ringer in a lot of those, almost losing my parents' retirement. So I know what it's like to operate under pressure. I then crossed over to big retail and CPG. I joined General Mills, embedded at General Mills as part of the largest ad agency in the world, WPP, called VML. And then moved on to Best Buy, where I ran and created innovation teams from scratch and built emerging technology partnerships. I led the store strategy for the stores of the future, the digital strategy for that. And then most recently, I was on the leadership team at Macy's, where we launched and expanded their 3P e-commerce marketplace and was working on strategies, etc., like 3PL services and retail media networks. I'm now the global managing partner of retail and CPG at HTEC, where I'm helping retailers turn buzzwords like AI and automation into operational wins that can actually show some real P&L wins. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Joe.
Very cool, Joe. Dan Horton, nice to meet everyone on here. VP of E&D out of the US, obviously tell by my accent. I have 30, probably more now, God, it's scary, 30 years in retail and technology in itself. The difference probably myself to maybe Joe and Alex even is I've pretty much built every system that's run into a retail store. So my career was from being a developer and working my way up to running teams, to running divisions and things like that. Pretty much designing and building out most of the systems. Also going through the years where we had big box systems like IBM and Oracle and all of those and interacting with them. I have years of experience that I try not to talk about for AS400 and, you know, mainframes and all that fun stuff. And it's been a pretty cool journey. I started my own companies, I own my own retail jewelry store online. That's where I learned a lot about e-commerce and marketing and a lot of things from that as well. So really cool background in that and the ability to then take that into consulting, working for many, many different companies and many clients over the years. So it's been an interesting journey. And I get to kick it off. So as we kick it off, if anyone's actually worked in retail, like behind a counter, at a register, you know, helping people, you've probably had a time where you felt overwhelmed, too much work to do, always something to get done, always problems, systems not working, data's incorrect, pricing's wrong, always a problem. Well, those problems, as Alex said in the beginning, right? We're in stores that act like they're 2015. We're still stuck in those same problems. And one of the areas we see that is now, or has been, workforce shortages. So do you have enough people working in the store to deal with the things that have to get done? The interesting part about it is AI is here to help, right? But not as easy as people think. So if we step back a little bit, the interesting thing is most stores, most retail stores have an average of about 30 people or so in most stores that are hired. The problem today is 60 to 100% of them leave. So that means that on average, your store is spending $100,000, $105,000 overall a year just on minimal amount of spend for people leaving and then coming back in. But that's actually not taking into recruiting, training, unemployment, separation costs, loss of knowledge, decline of culture, right? It's costing them hundreds of thousands of dollars a year trying to deal with a staff. And then when you think about the fact that you have to retrain all of them, the customer experience goes out the window. Now, the thing we're seeing today is, from a good side, is 82% of companies are saying they want to invest into technology to fix this problem. And they're not looking at just buying another HR system, which is what used to happen. Now they're actually looking at buying technical solutions, whether it's AI or not, to fix the data, create better interfaces, and move forward. The problem and the benefit for us is only 24% of them in the recent research are seeing ROI. So out of the 82, only 24% actually see any value in what they're building, which means they don't know how to align it to the outcomes for the store. They're not sure what to build or how to get value from it. So that means they're just doing an exercise of playing with AI, playing with technology, but not actually getting a ROI off the back end. That works in our favor because now we can go talk with them and show them how to actually get value out of some of these solutions. Now, the first part of it is the workforce and how they're being managed. The interesting thing is workforce used to be an HR function. It used to be a back office thing. What we're finding today is the role of that is changing. It's actually becoming an operational aspect of a store from the front end, not the back end anymore. So now all the systems are building to manage a store are moving out of back office and all to the front. The
Because
question becomes, what
because
do
of
you
the
got, Alex?
shortage. Yeah, like if you have more people up front, you need less people to actually manage the store, because no one is working their like 8-hour job behind the counter. They're able to kind of be there for the customers themselves. So it's kind of the total number of employees gets lower.
It's the idea, right, of taking that stretched workforce and figuring out how do you maybe augment them or augment systems in a way that you allow people to work on the important things instead of the mundane day-to-day repetitive tasks.
Yeah, and that's all about technology. Like automation is the bread and butter of technology. So kind of finding those use cases is where the actual value lies, and there where they as a retailers can find the ROI that they're looking for. Because we've worked a lot with a lot of retailers, and kind of getting that budget for technology is really, really difficult with their thin margins.
The interesting thing is there was a report from McKinsey that talked about why so much attrition, why so many people leaving. And it was workplace flexibility. So the ability to have better schedules and, work at the right times in the right place, which maybe is hard to control, but some of these solutions would allow for more dynamic scheduling. Career development. If I don't automate the store, then I need you to do all the mundane tasks. And if you're busy doing all the mundane tasks, you can't actually learn to do maybe the next level job or learn how to go from a store and go work for corporate, right? That used to be a path people would take. They'd start in a store, learn retail, and then get an opportunity to move to corporate and go work in another department, maybe become a buyer or a merchandiser or something else. Like they'd move up the scale. Hard to do if you can't get away from a lot of these silly tasks. The other thing was meaningful work, which kind of fits into there, right? Again, you don't have time to work on meaningful stuff if you're stuck, just filling shelves all day long, something that maybe could be automated, as we see with robots and other things in stores.
I think there's some other challenges too, on top of just the ability to have a path forward for some of these employees is the actual retailers themselves are being competed by their own payroll, outcompeted by their own payroll.
Yeah.
Yeah, since 2017 to 2023, sales only grew about 16% in grocery, for example, but the wages have gone up 100%. They've gone from back in 2017, $9.48 an hour to $19.31 an hour. So this makes it even harder for the retailer to compete on price. And they, even at Best Buy, I remember when we moved from COVID, they thought the shift to e-commerce was going to be a lot more permanent. And like you said, the front of the retail was really important for Best Buy. They were called blue shirts. Each of them had really a lot of specific knowledge, which within like TVs or stereo systems or cameras, and they had that specialty. But after COVID and the fact that they had to remove more labor, they had to become more generalists. And as the labor wages increased, they had to actually make that more permanent in nature, and that meant they had to become more and more generalists and then specialists. So that becomes an additional challenge for the retailer to be able to overcome, in addition to, margin pressure or some of these other issues. And then on top of it, we were starting to turn stores into micro fulfillment centers. So their job actually increased from having to be a generalist to actually having to deal with more of the backroom operations or the BOPUS. So all of these things started coming together at one time, which made it really, really challenging for retailers. And technology can solve it, but there's a lot of change management involved in how do you operate, and you've got new things you have to learn as a store employee too.
Yeah, 100%. I think the micro fulfillment is interesting you brought up, and maybe not to dive deep, but just so people understand, the idea was to get products shipped faster to a customer. You would use part of a store as a warehouse so that I moved products closer to my customers. So that way, when I said you could order online and I would ship it to your house next day, it was actually because it was stored in a store that was close enough to where you were. And it would allow for micro warehousing basically. And I would use my existing footprint as a retailer, so it didn't have to have the additional cost of creating large warehouses. So really cool idea. But like you said, an already overworked workforce was now asked to also manage that, whether it was pick and pack to ship it, or it was restocking the back shelves. So now they weren't on the floor because then they were in the back dealing with things in the back. So it was really interesting as a business case to look at. The question I have for you guys on that then is, I believe anyway, my first part of this is, I believe as a consultant, my first question is to ask, well, how do we redesign the work? My question to you guys is like, how do you see this being redesigned? Because again, 10 years have gone by. It still looks the same as it did back then. We just keep changing the words of what we call things. Like the problem doesn't change, only the word changes. So like, how do we actually rethink some of this?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to go AI native into how you operate your stores, what does that look like? I mean, what is that? If you're building a smart store, it needs to be more of an organism itself. Right? It's like a self-driving store. And what do you need most for a self-driving store? Well, you have to have really, really good data. So it's almost like a hierarchy of needs. Dan, you might have more knowledge on this, or maybe Alex does, as to what you would put in the bottom of the hierarchy of needs for that. But I mean, to me, it seems like it's more, you have to know where your inventory is at any given time to know how to load balance. If you're going to use AI, that seems to be the start with really good data. And it's like, it really starts with the inventory. What do I have on my shelves? What do I have in my micro fulfillment center in the back of the store or at another warehouse?
Yeah.
And then, knowing in real time, like how are sales coming off the shelf? Is that a shelf sensor? Where does that start from a technology standpoint? As I don't have the deeper knowledge of the technology elements of it, but like, so where would you start?
I think that's a good point you said too. I spent years dealing with data to try to make it near real time or real time, because you couldn't get the data from the stores. And that's still a problem with retailers today. So I do agree. I think at the end of the day, having a solution for visibility of that data, and then further supply chain and other things, because we used to have to know what was on a truck, where it was, because that was part of, stock for the store. Like I needed to be able to do counts to know how much was in every store, but I also needed to know, was it in transit? Was it in warehouse? Where did it go? And then even a conversation we all had a couple weeks back with someone, right? It's when it's in a store, it doesn't mean that the actual amount I have in the store is correct, because how many broke, how many were stolen, right? How many are still in the back room on a shelf? How many are actually on the floor?
How many are in
Like,
the carts of the customers right now?
right. There's so
Right.
many different variations. So it does make it very difficult. So when people say, oh, it's just a data problem, connect your data, it's more complex to that, which is why retailers are having a hard time bringing some of this together. But it's not impossible. I think there's new architectural patterns and other things that are allowing us to look at data in a different way. One of the models that I know from my experience I thought was always interesting was like data mesh, which was small micro components of, models connected to various data sets that would allow me to create another data model to support whatever I was doing on a front end, right? So it could be, and I don't mean front end to UI type, but like I could create a data set to connect my AI into to run, modeling off of. I could do machine learning off of something. I could use it to run reports. I could do whatever with it, but it was like ways to think Lego blocks, right? And start breaking stuff apart, which I think is what retailers need to continue to do in their architecture, is how to decouple this. Earlier, the three of us were also talking and remembering how old big box retailers are fiefdoms. So getting that data is difficult.
Yeah. And kind of, our other topics that we'll kind of cover later on is omnichannel, and kind of how you marry all of these different channels of sales into one single inventory and one single user or customer. So like the other point, Joe mentioned inventory, but like other point where AI can help is actually understanding your customers, like the demand part of the inventory side. So like you mentioned micro fulfillment. So it's kind of the store associate or the operations of one store needs to discern now not just his primary customer, the one that comes into the store, but the actual customers that live in the vicinity of the store who are not going to store. So like understanding the supply chain needs for those who are gonna order for it to be shipped, it's kind of now changing the prediction model. So AI and data cleanliness can help out actually predict the actual needs and handle all the shrinkages that's going to happen, so you don't have overstock or understock. So it's really, really interesting, and it's kind of once we kind of talk about this, it's all about that platform that kind of supports technology in stores. So everything store processes, optimizations, the whole supply chain, everything is supported by having a good platform that then, as a consequence has good data. And then it kind of spins up opportunities for some automation and some added value that can be provided by either AI or other types of automatic algorithms. So we've talked about those types of automations then, and a lot of IoT kind of is now available that can help out in stores. So I was like really thinking about what are the, maybe the first use cases that that technology can enter the workforce automation and provide more value, ease up the pressure on the store associates. So
the augmentation of the workforce, I think, is the play that retailers need to be looking at this year and next year. It's how do I augment my workforce, not replace my workforce? We saw the robots that are making burgers in Burger King, yet, right? They're still not replacing people. You still need the person. They need to augment and make that easier for people to do the job. So I think, to your point, this is where it gets interesting. How do I leverage the hardware and the software I have in stores in a unique way to then assist people that are working physically in the store? So one of the things I think of is I can look at traffic of how people are moving around stores, how they walk around the stores, where they go. We used to do it with cell phones. Now you can do it with video cameras. Like, you can really map out where people are going. You can use IoT and things like that to see shelf weights and refrigeration temperatures and all these things we watch. Well, those patterns and the pattern matching in there could tell you that on a Tuesday, you get barely any traffic, so I can have a workforce that's 3 people and I can manage the store fine. But on a Friday night, I get a slew of people coming in after work to buy some things before the weekend, so I need to have a larger workforce come in. Or Thursday mornings, I have my trucks come in and I need to get the cold storage out of the truck and into the refrigerators. So I need 3 extra or 2 extra people on staff. Well, this is great where we can automate these things, and then even better, right? Create me an interface for a store manager who can look at the week. I had a thought that came up on this when we were all talking, and one of the places I worked was Bed Bath & Beyond, and I spent a good couple of years building out a very dynamic web-based calendaring system that allowed all the stores to manage all the employees and all the events of what we're talking about manually every week. And it went from corporate level management all the way down to a single person. And the level of hierarchy that we had to try to manage and create in that, and the data set and all the interlinking and everything this thing did, because if you switch stores and things like that, it had to pay attention to everything. The idea of being able to have AI help and to create dynamic interfaces to do that is amazing, because those manual practices still happen in stores today. So like that alone is an amazing offering, I would think, if we could come up with a model that worked.
Yeah, and that goes back into the topic that you have such a high churn. So onboarding times and highly skilled workers are highly needed if you don't have automation. If you had, people are easily onboarded because there is something that kind of captures that analytics part, which is not experience-based for the human, it's experience-based for the system. And now everything is easier. That's exciting. How about you?
Now, the interesting question, you guys, on that is, would you rather automate the employees in the store to assist, or automate the customers for self-service? Because you as a customer, which one do you like better? Right? Do you want somebody to give you the right information? Like you just said earlier, Joe, when you were Best Buy, it was nice to go in, and if I wanted to buy a stereo or a TV, the person knew what they were doing. One of my first jobs was Radio Shack, which is nowhere alive anywhere, I think, anymore. And that was the kind of store when you started, we got a pile of books, and you had to take tests and get certified to know about all the topics in the store. So you had to be an expert in everything that somebody wanted to ask, from electronics to TVs, to computers, whatever it was. Nobody does that anymore. Yeah. So to my question, would you want the ability to get that data yourself? You can use now augmented reality, right? I can point up at a screen and get all the data. Or do you give that to the employee and have them do it and bring back customer service?
For me, it seems like that's a near-term question of a long-term question. I think in the near term, I think you got to go with more of the internal processes to empower your your people inside and get the right data in the right place before you could really tackle the longer term of the customer experience. And I think the example of that is looking at what Amazon Go stores have become, right? It took a lot of time and money, and I don't know how many cameras they had inside those stores and all the different sensors. And I mean, it made the payback on that almost impossible for 30 years, right? Yep. So where do you have to start to build the foundations of this? And if we're talking about 2025, I mean, we're already seeing examples from Sam's Club, like automating 100 million different tasks. You're seeing examples from Tractor Supply that have like the AI voice in your ear on their phone from a clienteling perspective to tell you, hey, this fertilizer works with this other, weed killer in real time in the aisle with your customer. So those things are starting to happen today. And I think you have to start either tinkering with that right now already in 2025, or you're going to be behind. I think the flashy stuff is the customer facing piece right now. Maybe that changes in another year or two, but I think right now you need to really focus on building your foundations. And if you aren't already tinkering with building those foundations, you got to do that in 2025, or you're just going to be behind. No doubt about it.
Alex, what do you think?
My take is
my take is we're not the actual representation of the customer itself. So like we may be more tech savvy. So I would say for me, give me all the information. I'm gonna do the research and then gonna come to my conclusion what I want to do. There are people that are not as tech savvy or have already exhausted ability to get those information online. So they come to the store and ask for the actual expert's help. So I think it should, like, retailers should go for both, allow more tech savvy to get on their, things on their own. That's gonna help out with a lower pressure on the workforce. So there's going to be more capacity for the workforce to actually focus on the ones that they do need some kind of concierge service, to help the customers who do have some idea, but are there to ask questions and, help someone, have them help out.
Yeah, I think of Neiman Marcus and the personal shoppers that they do. Neiman Marcus was a client of mine a long time ago, and the ability to have a personal shopper who learns you. They used to have paper notebooks for every customer that they managed, and they knew everything about you to help you buy your clothes and set up what you were doing. And they'd call you up and tell you, hey, we got some new shirts in, and I think you'll love these. I'm going to put them in the dressing room because I know you drive by here to your office on Thursdays. If you want to swing in, they're going to be in the dressing room for you. Come and try them out and see if you like any of them. And like they would prep and set up everything. So whether you knew you wanted the shirt or not, sometimes that personal extra hand-holding, right, makes you a customer for life, right? If you guys think about some of the experiences you might have where I live here, a lot more, I know most of the owners of all the restaurants. I've eaten in there long enough. I know everybody who owns them. And I go in and hang out with the owners and have dinner and sit down, have a beer, have some food. And that experience keeps me going back because it's personal. And I think tech can't do that. So then the question becomes, again, how do you augment that out? Which is, again, a takeaway for us as what we do as a day job. But how do you keep that personal experience, that tactile touch, right? It's why people haven't left all the physical stores, which goes to our next topic, right? It's people haven't left physical stores. We thought they would, but they haven't. Now you see a surge of people coming back.
80% of sales still happen in stores. Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So it's an interesting topic. It is.
Yes. And fortunately, like if we want to go into our next topic, because we need to be mindful of time, like three of us talking about retail, it could fill in, you know, a whole afternoon. But like, let's jump into our next topic, which is omnichannel. Joe, you said you don't like that term.
I don't like the language of omnichannel, right? I think it's a legacy language. It implies we still have different channels that we're trying to operate against, and I think the majority of retailers still view it that way, and that creates little fiefdoms that compete with each other when you're trying to optimize for the customer. So if you're managing channels, you're really not managing what the modern customer is looking for. And there's all sorts of other alternative languages around that. I think there's the term around unified commerce. I kind of like that idea. Like harmonized retail is another one that it's the same spirit of unified. Composable sort of speaks to that a bit, and then connected retail. But I think we need to move away from the term omnichannel and into one of those other alternatives so that we can start thinking holistically as a technology company that does retail really well versus we're a retailer using a markup, the old business model across different channels. That's sort of my take. I think it's an important shift that retailers need to make at least in their minds as they're looking at strategies and how to react to the realities of the new modern commerce.
Yeah. So like when we talk about omnichannel, maybe we kind of just step back because we may have like want to introduce the actual term. So like let's say omnichannel or unified channel is a way that retailers kind of introduce more than one sales channel and bridge the experience across those channels into one unified experience. So like I'll start with the one that I like the most, because for me, as mentioned before, I do like a lot of, you know, self discovery on all the items that I want to buy. Of course, like, you know, like do my own you know, examination of the offerings, and then but I don't like the wait times. Yeah, I live in Serbia. It's not a big country, but like the actual delivery services are not as efficient. So you would have like buy something and then wait for 5 days. So I actually had a skiing trip before, and I wanted to buy you know, addition to my GoPro camera. Like I waited for 6 days, and I had to actually go to the vacation without it. So like that
It never showed up in time for your trip.
yeah. And the worst things, it showed up when I was out of my home. So, you know, it bounced back. So that part is something that I really don't appreciate. So what I like to do is kind of buy online and pick it up in store. So I find something that is that works for me, make sure the price is best, and then figure out where's the closest thing that I can pick it up. So that part is really kind of a great benefit of omnichannel. For me, on top of that, I like the fact that there is a opportunity, and this is like a really sometimes sensitive topic. I like that the retailer with which I've kind of have multiple interactions with do know what I like and can offer something or bundle something with it. So that capturing of customer data that kind of serves for the better offerings, better deals, is something that omnichannel do good. So I've done some kind of a research about the actual topic, and I was talking. I thought like 5 years ago that this behavior is really something special about me. Like this is like, you know, doing all the you know, exploration before you buy. But
Yeah.
right now, it's 75% of customers do that. So this is really, really important part of retail for every retailer to have. And also capturing like retailer as a brand, capturing the customer for multiple times with omnichannel approach is almost 90%, where if you don't have omnichannel presence, it's about 33%. So everyone who's ever done retail knows that like lifetime value of the customer or having a customer with any type of relation with the brand is something that is super, super valued. So omnichannel is something that like really in this day and time is important. Dan, you mentioned micro fulfillment in store. That's like how omnichannel actually started, like merging the store and e-commerce experience. And we talked about, you know, COVID being there kind of to facilitate that move. But what Joe said, like we still are not there. 80% of retail is in stores. So maybe question for two of you or any one of you, how is it fear-based that you are kind of inside this omnichannel space, or is it just opportunity-based? You know, are you gonna, you know, we have like two different statistics. So the retailers are looking at this technology. What do you think? Is it like fear-based that you want to participate in the arena, or it's just opportunity mapping?
It used to be fear-based. So when it started and omnichannel was becoming a thing and everybody was creating an e-commerce site, and you know, we're talking a long time ago now, there was the FOMO, fear of missing out. A lot of retailers are moving in that path. And what was happening though is it was a different department inside of an organization. They created a different group that owned their own data, their own systems. They didn't share with brick and mortar. They now competed against each other.
Yeah.
At most organizations, they actually had different metrics that they had to work off of. So it wasn't, did we all make money? It's like, which group made money? Did online make money? Did
Yes.
brick and mortar
Yeah.
make money? And then when mobile came later, mobile got its own group over here. And right, nobody shared data and nobody shared anything. And that's how all this started, right? It was because of those
That's a great
fiefdoms
point.
created that way. And now
Yeah.
some of these old companies have been like that so long, they can't pull themselves back together.
No, that's a great point. I remember I pulled some annual reports. It was about a year ago from 20 years ago. Amazon was one of them. Walmart was one of them. I pulled Best Buy and Macy's and Circuit City. What was fascinating is that Walmart back in 2000 had already shut down their first e-commerce division, right? And we're just about to spin it up again. And it was interesting because I think the CEO at the time, I forget the name, but it had said that, you know, our e-commerce store doesn't even do as much as one Sam's Club store. So it was really unproven, and they were just standing up the, you know, Walmart.com division again, probably out of fear of what Amazon was sort of doing. It was still so new and nascent, though, and it was actually funded with an outside VC at Walmart. It's like inconceivable to even think about then, right? And a lot of their talent, once they shut down the first one, actually ended up going to Walmart. So it's, yeah, you're right. It was sort of this like, what do we make of this thing early on? But now it's like, I don't know what it is right now. Like as we look at things, because I come from the marketplace world a bit too, from Best Buy. I mean, well, somewhat Best Buy is starting up another marketplace this year. After starting it, I think I forgot when they started it, but they shut it down in 2016 at about 500 million GMV. But now they're starting it up again because this is the trend that's coming back in this
It's
channel.
still
This
a
is
trend, yeah.
the third-party e-commerce marketplace. They can increase their depth and breadth of products they provide customers and bring in new customers and win back market share, but they don't have to hold inventory and they don't have to send the inventory and they don't have to manage the pricing. So I don't know, and maybe there's still a little bit of fear there, Dan, you know?
But I think
mean,
that's the fear of
necessity to
ending up
have
like
marketplace
Sears and
is a new version of that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. I think there is a fear on that side of it because a lot of these older retailers are afraid of ending up like Sears and everyone else, right? That went out of business and was gone. Like they don't compete. The problem with marketplaces, you know better than I do, is it becomes a data and logistics problem. So it's great that I don't have to store the merchandise, but now I have to manage all that data correctly and pricing and all the other components of that because I still have to have that seamless experience for my customer.
Yes.
But now I'm
Yeah.
working with all these vendors. So now I'm doing vendor management all day long.
And talking about the fiefdoms that we talked about before, if you don't have one single incentive structure, particularly with marketplaces, a lot of these retailers are adding or bolting on a marketplace, thinking it will just take the take rate, which is the rev share of the sellers that we're putting on marketplace. but they're missing out on the full flywheel effect, which includes retail media networks adding their own 3PL services. Obviously, Walmart gets it, Amazon gets it, a couple others are sort of starting to understand that. But then there's that internal battle where a lot of them are still working off of spreadsheets for how to optimize profit across those channels. That just is not going to work in today's world, where you need more real-time feedback loops to optimize. Hey, maybe we should include this seller or more of their assortment of this specific seller. There's just lots of internal battles that happen between the merchants, the marketplace teams are trying to bring in new and different products, and they have to optimize profit across those channels, and they just don't have the tools to do it quickly. And I think that's what's sort of missing. And when they're adding on these marketplaces, that they're not thinking about that fully, and they don't have the tools to do that as well. So that's another sort of challenge in 2025 as we see the trend for marketplaces growing and a new channel that you still can't optimize across all those channels as easily as you need to.
The interesting thing, what you were just saying there, and I think it shows why retailers have so many problems, is at the end of the day, people impulse buy unless it's truly a needed product, like toilet paper during COVID. But it's an impulse buy. So you need to show me a product at a time where I'm going to be in the right mindset to want to buy it. It's too easy to close a browser window. It's too easy to, close my phone and come back to it later. So we lose more sales because of that, which is why omnichannel also covers heavily into the marketing aspects of this as well. And that's where they started to bring the synergy together with a lot of that hyper personalization, good place for AI to play, right? I think for this to become a winning strategy for a retailer, it's not so much going to a marketplace, my opinion, going to a marketplace, but how to figure out how to take endless aisle and better integrate that back into the stores. Because since we know that,
every seller's dream is to be part of their owned inventory in the store.
Yep. So if you think about it, what is it, 80 to 90% of people still go to a store to buy physical items, right? 50% of them will stop shopping with somebody, though, if they don't have multiple channels for me to interact with them, so I have a good experience. So I have to have both a good experience and I have to have, the brick and mortar space. So the showroom thing died off a while ago, which was great. But if you remember, everything went online. They said, oh, people are going to stop buying at stores. We'll make them showrooms. Now we're looking at that word I hate. What is it? Digital or whatever?
Digital.
Yeah. And the idea of bringing digital back into the stores. And this is a good idea. So omnichannel's next step becomes, how do I bring all of that online stuff back into a store? Because we do have digital that we can put in a store now. You can do augmented reality. You can do digital signage. You can do unique shelf structures for things where maybe I'm looking at products in a digital on a physical space, and then I can show you have more. I think of, again, Bed Bath to me is a good example for this because they had bridal in the back corner. And if you went in to get married and you were going to do your registry, it was a special little room in the back part of the store. You had a unique experience as a couple to pick out all the things you wanted to put on your registry. You were treated differently. It felt different. It was a unique experience, and you'd buy from it and you'd recommend it to all your friends. Like as a company, that company barely spent any money on marketing because it was all word of mouth. And those coupons, paper coupons, whole different conversation. But it was physical things.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? How do we get people back to do that? And it's still possible.
Yeah, we work with one of the really woman garment company for endless aisle. So they have those seasonal items that they don't ship to stores, so they sell it only online. But there are a lot of traffic in their stores buying other stuff. So for instance, like bridal stuff, they did have only online, and people are in the store. So having that interactive digital experience is actually capturing some of the shoppers inside, but you don't have like logistical opportunity to ship those like really niche but important stuff in your garments. Having them buy it and browse it and buy it in store. And there is, of course, like some AR opportunity where you would, there's that, dress is not in store, you are in store. There is an AR component, so you can kind of virtually try it out, order it, and have it delivered in that store or to your home. So those type of kind of logistical issues, stocking issues, something that phygital part can help out with. So when we touch the kind of digital signage or digital part of the omnichannel, can I just ask you, like, what are the trends that you hate about it? Like, what are the things that you find in a physical store that you hate having some that omnichannel experiences, and what are the ones that you kind of really appreciate? Maybe
You're saying for a physical store itself?
yeah, so like maybe where the digital signs or some kind of other experiences that are part of omnichannel, but you don't appreciate it, or retailers are doing it bad.
Yeah. I don't mind throwing out a piece of that. I think there's a great opportunity with a lot of the digital stuff we have in stores, but I think digital signage, not the small one that's telling you the price, not that digital signage, but like big digital signage and stuff, I think is useless. And I think a lot of the like digital interfaces, like the magic mirror kind of idea where you can, they do the makeup in Sephora, I think, and those kind of things. If it's not actually increasing customer experience or it's not improving efficiency, it's decoration, right? It's not transforming the experience. It's not transforming the retailer. It's not transforming something for the customer. So it's decoration, and decoration is expensive and just gets in the way and then confuses the experience for the customer. And I think that's where tech gets overused. So if I think about a store when I go in for that kind of thing, I think those technology components are not well thought through sometimes.
Yeah, and for me, a lot of those digital interfaces, when it's clearly just in form of lowering the operational cost for the retailer and increasing the effort for the customer, that's where I really hate it, because it's kind of it's not bringing any better. It may spare some money cost-wise for the retailer, but in the end, it's bad branding and the customers are not happy. How about you, Joe?
Yeah, I tend to agree with both of you. Obviously, Dan too, if it gets into flashiness and detracts from the experience itself of, hey, do you actually have this in inventory? I think you have to do the blocking and tackling really well first before you get into more of those flashy things. But at the end of the day, a retail is all about buying things at wholesale and creating an experience around it. So you have to make the experience fit. And what does that mean from a digital perspective? It could be a lot of different things for a lot of different categories and a lot of different brands. I think back obviously to Best Buy when we were creating the stores of the future, where we figured out how do we use digital in the right way. I mean, do we put people in the queue? Is it communicating them their expectation of how long is the wait in the queue, or is there a way to get around the queue? I mean, it's just really, like you said, Alex, it's like if you're creating friction with it, it sort of goes against what you're trying to do. I think that's one piece of it. The other hard part about the physical store today is that there's just been a absolute Cambrian explosion of brands because of what Amazon and Shopify has made possible. Like, it's not just a handful of brands anymore that you can have and curate and store. It's being curated by the creators of these brands themselves, creating communities on social commerce. So how are you building some of these social commerce elements into your physical store location to figure out what others are gravitating towards? Or I don't know what that means. Is it like TikTokers that you've got playing in the background or something along that line? I'm not sure. That are
Could be if you have that kind of brand
brands.
awareness, right? That's your marketing,
Right.
but it's only
Right.
for a certain crowd, right?
That's right. Yeah.
But to your point, if you have a store that you like to shop in, right? Again, if we look at the mix of a personal shopper, digital and physical, right? I have a Sleep Number bed, and they just did a new app that it'll listen to you and tell you if you're snoring, as well as the bed already has IoT in it to tell you how you're sleeping. So they're gathering all this data, which is great, but what are you going to do with it? right?
Yeah.
So the same thing, your phone's picking up all the data about you, but how's it going to help, right? If you can make it so that knows, maybe that you like hiking and you like Eddie Bauer, and every time Eddie Bauer has a new change in certain clothing that matches the type of hiking or camping or outdoor stuff I like, and there's new stuff in, then location awareness, when I happen to be going
Yes.
by a store, then give me marketing or advertising or information. You know, Alex, you had said earlier, knowing the general population of people that go to your store, maybe as a grocery store or somebody that live local. Well, if you live local and I happen to know the people who live local, then why don't I give them a special deal? So I have coupons for my local customers outside of my digital customers that get them to come to the store more often. I have reasons to come in. I create special events for them. A wine store by me does a wine tasting every 2 months. And it doesn't cost anything. And you come in for 3 hours and you check out some different wines and you meet a ton of people. And they've been doing it forever. And it drives them more traffic to their store. And then you can go online and buy more and do whatever from their website. But it's their website and marketing that got you in. And then it's the physical touch and the personal experience, right? That keeps you there. Like, it's doing those little things. I think people try to over-engineer the process sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even using an example for the vacation I'm on right now, it's like I was looking for swim trunks that have a 5-inch inseam because I've got short legs and my legs look better with like a 5-inch inseam. And I was hoping that I could find, like I was saying, I needed to have it in like 1 or 2 days. I was looking for a search to find 5-inch inseam swim trunks near me at a physical store that I could go and pick up versus, quickly getting it delivered on Amazon that I could sort of look and feel and do some shopping around it. So yeah, like what are those elements that help bring you into the store to do that? And while you're there, can show you where it's at quickly. If you're in a rush, for example, right?
Yep.
Those things like make a difference. And maybe it's a new form of hyper personalization. Is it like hyper personalization? I don't know what you call it. Like super hyper personalized. I don't know what you call
definitely part of the hyper personalization swing that we're seeing that's been around now for a couple of years, but I think it definitely fits into that model.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like omnichannel really caters to that, because while you would have like a, as you mentioned, Neiman Marcus, having that kind of personal touch, technology can provide it. And we are like historically, once, app started happening, you would capture so much personal data of the customer, but a lot of that data wasn't utilized well. So it didn't feel natural. It didn't feel something that's actually adding value. And sometimes it feels, weird for the customer. So they opt out of that. Now with the push of the privacy, with all the, both iOS and Android are like opt-in rather than opt out for the capturing the location data, personal data. It feels like now there is more sophisticated algorithms and utilizing AI to translate the data points that you capture from the customer through your apps and omnichannel that actually can drive the good suggestion, the good personalization. But now the privacy concerns are kind of putting a lot of hurdles on that. So it's kind of before we actually got to a position where technology can drive hyper personalization, there's like it's kind of blocked by the privacy concern that we have right now, especially on the major mobile platforms.
Yeah. You have less of that now, but it's still somewhat a problem, right? 10 years ago, personal information being shared or collected and everything else was really taboo and nobody wanted to touch it. Nowadays, it's a form of currency. So you're buying to use an app for free for them to gather data from you. Like you're paying with it now, and people are okay with that.
If it's free, you are the inventory of the app.
Yeah.
If you're using something for free, that you're paying with something you're doing, your data is something else.
Yeah, people give away all their own personal information for a free Big Mac, right?
Oh, you saw that YouTube video or whatever that was, yeah?
Well, yeah, I've been talking about that for like 8 years.
I watched, there was on the other day and somebody showed how easy it was to get somebody's information for their password. And they
wow.
just started a conversation with the girl and asked some questions and quickly got pretty much everyring they needed on the video.
Everything.
It was
Unbelievable.
crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, what else we got? We're at 1 hour for our thing, right? Want to
Yeah.
do any of the other questions? We had some quick fire questions we jumped out in here that we had written down.
We can do that. Let me check if
Because we
anyone.
don't see any questions from the group yet, unless anybody has a question they'd like us to, or a topic
Please
they'd like
use-
us to touch.
Yeah, please use the Q&A session to post the questions if you have any. We're gonna answer them. Until we get those, maybe go with the quick fire questions that we've kind of prepared. So you wanna start off then?
So as we know, we as an organization are looking at AI very seriously, as because everyone else is very seriously looking at AI, and it is a really important spot for us to look. My question is, where do you think the store can improve the most leveraging AI? Is it the front of the house, the back of the house? Is it something else? Like, where do you feel AI would best be leveraged today?
Well, I'll take that. I mean, obviously, I said it before. I think it starts with the inventory. You got to know where your inventory is at any given time, across your entire ecosystem, and that's a good starting point to build the foundations for AI for retail.
Okay, so that's a
It all
data
starts with
spot,
that.
and I agree with you on that,
Yep.
Joe. Now let's take it a step further and say, okay, now let's say I know that I have that data now. I kind of have a good idea where all my stuff is. How do you see AI or machine learning or just, variants of now helping that a step further?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with like task routing, and what's my next step as a employee that helps open up time for me to work better with customers, know what I'm doing next in the day. Am I cleaning? Am I serving the customer? What's next best for me?
Perfect.
For me, I think a lot of like image analytics. So maybe identifying where the shortages are on the shelves. We've talked with a lot of retailers who have really legacy hardware in like visual, security cameras. So having some AI algorithms, identify some of the behavior, prevent it, is something really, really important. I think we can kind of utilize AI for. We mentioned before a lot of that hyper personalization for the customers. So some of like that retail marketing stuff, promotional, even something with discounts can help out a lot. So those would be like the two main points I see using AI.
So you're thinking using like the physical cameras and getting more value out of those cameras instead of just security alone.
Exactly. And like just switching out like old legacy cameras to some more capable ones is super expensive for the retailers. So figuring out how we can kind of utilize AI algorithm outside of the hardware side can really bridge the gap with the legacy equipment.
Very cool. I'd add
can
my
use that
hat into
for,
the ring.
Planogram compliance too. Sorry, it was the
Yeah,
same.
what do you got? Compliance?
Yeah. Yeah, planogram compliance when you're using computer vision for also to know the inventory's there and where it's at, and heat mapping where people are going in the store, both
Yeah.
employees and customers.
Which is a huge one for heat mapping. A lot of data comes from that to figure out how you want to change that planogram. The other thing is the planogram with digital twinning allows you to do a lot of QA and testing on a lot of that without having to go and build the old, because you and I have probably seen it. Alex, I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I don't know.
We used to have in the back of one of the stores in the warehouse section, a fake store. And that's where all of the merchandiser and buyers and everybody else would go and prep how they were going to build out the store. So they had a test store in the corporate office that they could go work on to test shelving and test pathways and everything else. It was crazy.
Okay, fun stuff. So I know we are at the hour. We waited for some questions. Guys, if you have anything, please add it to the chat. If not, we're gonna get back to Mustafa, and thank you everyone for attendance and attending the whole week of HTEC sessions. And I would like to thank Joe and Dan for jumping in and providing their experience to our panelists.
Yeah, thank you to you guys as well. I hope everybody who was listening enjoyed it, and I had a fun time talking with you guys, so thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for a very intense and passionate discussion. I'm always surprised when people who deal with certain things day in and day out still speak of those things and discuss them with such intensity and dedication. So that's it's always kind of inspiring to witness. I don't see any questions in the Q&A section. I'll just wrap up today's session. Thank you all for being here today, both the panelists and the audience. The recording of the session will be made available on our SharePoint for those who weren't able to attend it. And yes, that's the end of this year's HTEC Days conference. We'll see what we have in store for next year. Thank you all again, and goodbye.
Thank you.